Just got back from a rather muddy ride on my local trail Fats, which finally opened after almost 4 months of being closed due to wet conditions. It's a little muddy and the bike got pretty dirty. I hosed it down, but one thing I found is that my fork, my Suntour XCR 32 100mm travel, was shuddering a little bit, and you can see here the grease and stuff, and just wasn't, it was kind of groaning. I did about 14 miles, so I decided to service it, and I'm going to go over a little bit of how to do it. One thing I noticed was on Kev Central, he has the Schwinn Axum, and it seems like the Schwinn has a Schwinn, somebody's alarm, Schwinn branded Suntour XCR. If you look, the lock looks very similar, the preload, even this area here on the fork legs looks very similar. So if anybody knows if it is the same fork, just let me know. So in some of my other videos I've been asked, how do you remove the fork? And I have another video on how to replace a fork, but just to make it really quick, make sure you remove the front wheel and your brake caliper from here and here. And then what I did is I already loosened the bolts here and here on the stem. Lastly, what's holding it all together is this top screw, this cap screw, which is screwed into the star nut, which is inside the steerer tube. Once you release that, once you have this loose and you release that, the stem is going to pop off and the suspension fork is going to be free. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove these 5mm hex nuts. I'm going to put them out about 1/8 of an inch or about 5mm out, and once they're out about that long, I'm going to tap them in to release the lowers from the inners, and I also release the tension or the preload all the way out on the top of the fork. Now we can just remove these and slide the lowers out. And you can see where that black grease that's showing up on my stanchion is coming from. So we'll remove all that, and then we'll remove these from the top. This is the preload side or the non-drive side, and this is the lockout side on the drive side. On a curious note, when you look inside this, I just did a Fox 34, and I have a video on that. If anybody wants to see it, just look it up on my channel. And just below the wipers, there's a space there, there's a groove where the foam rings that you soak in oil go, and this actually has, I don't know if you can see it there, yeah, right there, it has the exact same groove. So I wonder if you could even put some oil rings there to keep the fork legs lubed a little better. Could be a hack. Now to remove these, you need a special tool that they sell, Suntour specific tool that goes on here, and you can get that on Amazon or eBay for about $5 to $7. I don't have one, but I happen to have, I don't know if you can see it, one of those universal socket sets, and the 1-inch fits in there perfect. So this is the 1-inch / 25mm universal socket, and it fits perfectly on there. So we remove that top. Okay, it's got a little grease in there. Then we're going to push from below and pop it out the top. Now there's 2 pieces in there. This is the spring, okay? That's the top part, that's the bottom. And then to remove the rest, you need to remove this plastic so you can push it up with a screwdriver or something through the hole. So I'm going to remove that plastic here at the bottom. It just comes right off. Don't forget to put it back when you put it all together. So on the other side, this cap just pries off. So I'm going to pry it here, and then I'm going to give it a little help with a screwdriver here, because you definitely don't want to break this. Make for a bad day. Pops right off. And there it goes. So one thing is, there is a little cam in here that pops off. Can't get it out right now, but let's see. Once I unscrew this off, you can get that little cam off. Alright, so we got that unscrewed. We're just going to pull this out carefully. Again, there's actually moisture in there, you see that? So those seals aren't doing a great job. I get the feeling that a Fox 32 seal will fit right in there. I might order a kit later on and try it out. So let's take a quick look at all the components. Of course, we have the upper legs, we have the lower legs. Inside the lockout, we have the lockout mechanism here. We have this little cam that goes inside the top, which is moved by this, and that's going to lock that. Inside here, we have an outer 5mm hex, and inside where that cam engages is a 4mm hex. And that's basically how you adjust if the lockout, if it's not working, and once we put it back inside. On the other side, there's the preload side. We have the preload knob, of course. Then we have the compression spring here, and then we have this guy, which I believe this is what causes, just by friction, this is what causes a little bit of rebound dampening. Okay, we can actually take this apart, which I'm going to, so I can clean it a little better, and then grease it up so the mechanism slides better. But let's see if I can, whoops, let's see if I can see. So this kind of has a little friction there, so as it goes in, it bounces out slowly. And also, this could be the smaller spring, could be, instead of a progressive spring, could be this is for small bumps, this is for the big bumps. Now all these parts have been cleaned real nice. I used some degreaser followed by some rubbing alcohol, and now I'm going to grease all this up with some SRAM butter. I'm going to grease all the mating surfaces. I'm going to grease this little tube, which I had cleaned, but it did have grease. I'm going to put a little grease in here, so when it compresses, this is lubed up. You can see there where it seems like the lube's not working, even though there's a sealed cartridge, so it really shouldn't need anything, but it's not going to hurt. And then I'm going to put a little SRAM butter just inside these seals, so hopefully now it'll make a better seal when I put it all back together, and water won't get in there. Like I said, I might at some point order a Fox 32 kit, or at least the little foam rings, and see if they fit in there. Put them in some suspension oil, put them in there, and see if it works better. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. So I greased everything up and put it back in where it belongs. I put the little plastic piece there at the bottom. I gave it everything a very light coating. I didn't glob anything on there, but made sure all the springs were covered, and between the springs where it went over the plastic piece. The only area where I was a little more generous was there, just inside the wiper rings, so that, or the dust boots, so that slides. It's supposed to seal, so the grease shouldn't come out. So we threaded the caps in. Make sure you start them by hand, because these are plastic. You do not want to cross thread those, and also just tighten them snug. Don't over tighten. Again, those are plastic. You could damage those threads very easily. This side, you do have to push down as you turn. There's a little bit of pressure, so you have to turn down, push down as you turn. Make sure you don't get that cross threaded. And so we talked about the lockout mechanism here. I have a 5mm hex. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this is turned all the way clockwise, and it is, and then make sure that the inside, there's a 4mm, and it falls right in there, is all the way clockwise also. That's in the lock position. All right, that's the lock position. So now you're going to put the cap in. The cap has these little notches there. There's a little notch that you can see in there that's going to line up right about there, and it'll snap right in position. So now we can check. So locked, unlocked, locked, unlocked. So now it's a matter of sliding the lowers in at the end here. Let's see, at the end there right here, we're gonna put the bolts. Take note of the washer. It has like a little raised area that goes towards the fork. Then we just torque that down again snug. I don't have specs for that, torque specs for that, and we are done. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.